Hey. What's up? Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good night. Is there any more, no? I think that's about it. How y'all doing? How y'all living? How y'all feeling? You know how God just be out here guiding, you know what I'm saying? He be doing him, right? And, you know how people are always talking about, or people tend to reference, the Lord will make a way, right? He makes a way in the wilderness. He makes a way out of no way. What if the way he made is in? Hear me out. Daniel 3, right? We all know the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Did I say his name right? Abednego, right? Their way wasn't out, okay? Their way wasn't through. Their way was in. And by in, their way was in a furnace, okay? A furnace of fire. So it wasn't like some divine miraculous, well, I mean, it was. Let me pump my brakes. Let me slow down. The help, I should say, was not how we would necessarily think it would come. Because they had to go into a furnace of fire. Like, And so, what happens if your way out is in the fire? You know, a little roasty and toasty. What if the Lord is delivering you by fire, literally? You know, we always want the sweet, nice deliverance and rescuing. But what if you want to, you know, cook you a little bit without necessarily getting cooked? I'm going to just read, where's it at? Daniel 3. Here we go. We just gonna start at 19 because, you know, he was a little mad and the enemy be big mad and be doing stuff, overplaying his hand as per usual. And so Daniel 3 from verse 19. Now, I like KJV version. I also like the Amplified. And so this version is the King James. Okay? So you will hear thus, they, thou, them. So just be prepared. That's what we got. Then was Nebuchadnezzar. I like how they broke his name down because we be tearing up these names. And the form of his visage was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Therefore he spake and commanded that they should heat the furnace 7 times more than it was wont to be heated. Meaning the original intensity of the heat of the furnace was then upped 7 times more. So that means it was hotter than it was ever before. So he did this on purpose. He turned the heat up 7 times more, you know, to make sure they was crispified. I mean, if you just get burnt anyway, that's it. There was no need for it to be that much more hotter. Right? Just like, it's like the enemy be doing stuff. It's just all this extra warfare. What, sir, calm down. Have a seat. Like, it was already, that's all you know how to do anyway. Still kill and destroy. And so now you're going to make it 7 times more just annoyance. Follow along. And he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and to cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Verse 21. Then these men were bound in their coats, their hosen, and their hats, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Fully clothed. Okay? Just fully clothed. And I like how I got Old Testament, New Testament revelation, right? Because we're supposed to put on the full armor of God. So we out there, full armor on, right? Full armor, head to toe. We got the helmet of salvation, the shield of faith. We got the sword of truth, the feet of the gospel of peace, the breastplate of righteousness, the belt of truth. What is it's the shield of faith. We got the whole armor on, okay? We got it all on. We are equipped, and yet the fire is 7 times hotter than it was before. And we are thrown in there fully clothed. Therefore, this verse 22, because the king's commandment was urgent and the furnace exceeding hot, the flame of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So even them little minions, right, that was sent to bring them into the fire, they caught the heat. Now, I'm going to pause here because when you think about just this, how did the men, okay, because the miracle happened before they even got in. How did the people get burnt that was supposed to put them in the fire and yet they did not? Oh, did y'all catch that? Have you ever saw that before, like reading this? This is Daniel chapter 3. That the minions, I'm going to call them minions, that was supposed to escort them into the fire caught that smoke, caught that heat. Yet they walked in. Ooh, let me keep going. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound. Okay, they were bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Yet the fire, the verse before that said that the fire slew the men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Ooh, look at God. Then Nebuchadnezzar, the king, was astonished. Is that supposed to be like astonished? And rose up in haste and spake and said unto his counselors, did we not cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, true, O king. He answered and said, lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. So not only was the minions that bound them to put in the fire died, right? Yet they survived being bound into the fire. They end up being in the fire, but became loosed. Are you catching the revelation? Them being in the fire, be bound, right? They went in bound, stood in the fire, loosed, with the 4th man there. Come on now. I'm about to run around this room. They went in bound, survived being placed in the furnace that was 7 times hotter, stood up, loosed, with the 4th man in the fire. Verse 26, then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High God, come forth. Now, how was he even able to go near the furnace, right? If it was 7 times hotter, did he turn the heat down so he could withstand the fire of the furnace? These are just thoughts that I have right now. Because if the minions that put them in there got taken out, how was he able to go near the mouth of the furnace? I'm just saying. And the princes, governors, and captains, and the king's counselors, being gathered together, saw these men upon whose bodies the fire had no power. Okay, sorry, I just went to tongues. Nor was an hair of their head singed, neither were their coats changed, glory to God, nor the smell of fire had passed on them. So nothing about them changed by being in the fire. Their armor, check this out, I told you, Old Testament, New Testament, Revelation. Their armor did not change by being in the fire. It was not altered one bit. Nothing about them was altered although they had to go into the fire. The only thing that changed was them being bound, right? And then they became loosed. My God. And they also didn't smell like fire or smoke. Now, you know, like even if you grill, you go to a barbecue. I'm back on the food. I'm hungry. Okay. When you grill or you go to a barbecue and the smell of the grill gets embedded in your clothes, even if you fry something, that smell gets embedded on your clothes and now you smell like whatever it is you're cooking. That did not happen in this situation. Okay? Then Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who hath sent his angel and delivered his servants that trusted in him, and have changed the king's word and yielded their bodies, that they might not serve nor worship any God except their own God. The Lord is going to cause people to acknowledge your God because you came out of the fire, not bound, but loosed, nor did you smell like smoke. If he did it for them, he gonna do it for you. They're going to have to acknowledge your God. I've said this is a recurring thing. Lord, you are connecting the dots. And not only my life, but the lives of your people. Because there is going to be, once again, a clear distinction. And it will be no one but God that can do something like this. No one but God, right? Who can sustain someone like this, fully armored. Because a lot of times people, because they did it in the Bible with the blind man. They did it with Job. You had to have done something. There have to have been some sins on your family for you to have gone through this. What if it was God the whole time? You're fully armored up, yet you're still getting attacked. Armor still is on, okay? It's still intact. It's doing what it's supposed to do. You didn't take it off. Just like they were fully clothed and came out fully clothed, not smelling like smoke, still standing and remaining steadfast and immovable on what the Lord had instructed them to do, regardless of how it looked to anyone else on the outside. Because he's calling a lot of us to do so, to remain steadfast and immovable. No matter what it looks like, no matter if the instruction seems crazy to someone else, if God told you to do it, then you do it. You stand firm on God's decree over the decree of the king. Because you shall not have any other gods before him. He is a jealous God. And he shows up for his people. Now, who knows how long they were in the fire? Because it doesn't say. It doesn't say if it was an hour, a couple of minutes, a second, right? God doesn't operate in our realm of time. So something that could seem so long to us is but like a second to God. Because he could do it just like that. You know? And since we're speaking of fire, I'm thinking of the burning bush, right? It didn't consume the bush. The bush was out there just to burning. To get the attention of his servant. It's like God does the unusual things to get our attention. The things that to blow our mind that only he could do to get our attention. I just like the paradigm of that. They went and bound, stood up, loosed. A fourth man was in the fire with them. All of that, it's like everything that was around them got singed. Clearly, because them people, the minions got singed. But they didn't. And it's like all of that warfare and all of that junk from the past seasons got singed off, and they came out not smelling like what they went into. Because that is the awesome wonder of God. How can you not be in awe of a God like this? And it was done in such a way that, notice, the princes, governors, and captains and king's counselors gathered together, saw these men whose bodies the fire had no power, nor was an hair of their head singed, neither were their coats changed, nor the smell of the fire had passed on them. The Lord is going to move in such a way that the nations will know that the Lord has his hand on his people. These ones that were sent into the fire, not to be burned, but to represent God, to represent their relationship and trust in him. That if he sent them into the fire, that means that they're coming out, and not with anything attached to them that has any power or will burn them or hurt them or hold them down. But they will come out loosed and a representation of the great, almighty, all-powerful God that they serve. Watch out for these ones sent into the fire. Because when they come out, you best believe ain't nothing gonna stand in their way. If they could survive this, if God be for them, who can be against them? Remain steadfast, immovable, and know there's a fourth man in the fire with you, so that you won't come out smelling like smoke.